illustrations here. I guess I should maybe go chronological order and explain a little bit of the process that I came up with in, developing these drawings, based on, from my time spent living in Milan, like Jennifer, I was really amazed when I first moved here. I moved to Milan, and I was just, amazed by all the little secret places that I found when I was riding my bike or walking around, looking at the buildings in Montreal. So the first one in the series here is Fleurbain 5 Roses, which is kind of like a photo collage with the picture of the factory and illustration with, kind of a moonlight and, the factory's floating on a cloud with, two people kind of embracing. So the theme I was kind of dealing with here was like nostalgia, and memories and, like a moonlit walk along the canal and what kind of visual image it could take. So this is that drawing. And this one was inspired by a walk through one of the Milan alleyways. So I just happened to come, along this like weird little house with a stair going up, and a little graffiti that said "Know Yourself," and there was a little door in the back of a building that had the top cut off. So basically, I thought, oh, it's like a gnome door, because it had this graffiti in front, so, saying "Know Yourself." So I was just imagining this kind of, fantastical little door where the gnomes kind of came out at night, through the door and they were bursting out into my land, occupying, the city. So that's Know Yourself right there. So this one kind of led to this one over here. This is called Tesseract. This is basically a collage. I took some photos of nice windows in Montreal that I really liked, and I put them together in Photoshop as a collage. But then when I was drawing them, I kind of worked them in kind of this like multi-dimensional space. So it's like a black hole, of all these windows coming together, and coming out of it is this bird flying free. So kind of the theme I was dealing with here was the idea that the city is kind of a prison sometimes, like just the way it's built and all the angles and the squareness and the boxiness, it can be really depressing sometimes. I had a friend who once said that, when you're living in a city, you live in a box, you commute to work in a box, and you work in a box, you sit in a cubicle box, and you go home to your box and you sleep at night in your box, so you live in a really boxy life, basically. So one thing that I try to do with my illustrations is get people to imagine like another way of looking at the city other than boxes. So I took all these windows from the city and I worked them to this like box-like space, which I would like to call Tesseract, because the title is based on a young adult novel by Madeleine D'Eng, or I can't pronounce her last name, but Wind in the Door, and they talk about tesseracts in that book, and I was really inspired by that. So it's like all these folding of time, memories, and space, like folding in on itself, and the bird flies free. So it's kind of like our spirit flies free from this box that's been made for us. So we have to find different avenues of escape or transcendence that suit each of us. That won't be held down by this box life. So that's Tesseract right there. And after that, this one here, this is called Carpet Mobius, and it's based on a actual intersection in Montreal. It's Park Avenue this way and Villeneuve this way. So when I was living there in 2008, there were two carpet stores facing each other. And if you've gone up Park Avenue past Villeneuve, you know there's like a plethora of carpet stores. And you don't know why, but they're there. Okay? So these two carpet stores were facing each other, and I was thinking, oh, it's kind of facing off. So I imagine that, like their carpets, with like tongues coming out and crossing over each other in this like weird non-ending knot, you know. So the statue is there, you know, and the butterfly, the carpets become these butterflies. So it's a little bit also based on M.C. Escher, because I'm really inspired by the way he also presents different you know, visions of how space in reality, and also a geometric way of approaching that representation. So that's inspired by Escher right there. So it's carpets, you know, becoming butterflies. And it also touches on the theme that I'm really interested in, which is ecology in the city. So how do we find our connection with nature in the city, and also how does nature provide a base? How does it inform our you know, our way of life here, despite the fact that, you know, we're living in a place that seems to oppress it or deny it, or, you know, in a way make it artificial. So how can we find ways of looking at the city that still honor nature and see the patterns that exist in nature as well? So the patterns of the carpets, they become, you know, this kind of foil, you know, like a kind of way of looking into, you know, that relationship, that how can we, you know, see pieces of nature in the city. And the last piece is this one. This one is Mycelia Kingdom, and once again, it's dealing with the same themes of nature, place. How can we look for elements in the city that recognize our, you know, our connection with nature. It's a connection that we can't deny, we cannot forget. You know, it's something that we have to remember, because we don't live outside of, you know, that system. We're part of it. So this one was inspired by the really beautiful cathedral on René Lévesque. It's the Cathedral Marie Reine du Monde. So what I did here was, once again, I took photos, and I kind of did a photo collage, and then I drew from that these three cupolas right here. So kind of a representation of mushroom caps coming out of, you know, coming out of the ground this way, and then the man-made architecture, that kind of, like, you know, sitting on that, you know. So, but also it's part of that. It's coming from that. It's sprouting from that. So this piece refers to the part of the mushroom called mycelium that's living underground. It's not apparent, but it's actually a part of the mushroom that helps plants, you know, intake nutrients. So they live on the roots of plants, and also in the soil. So it's all connected. What you have are these mycelium mats that can become really large. They say in Oregon that they have one that's like 1,600 football fields, like, wide. Yeah, you can look it up. It's what's there. Yeah.
What?
And it's like 2,000 years old. Yeah. Yeah. These mats, they live underground. They're enormous, and they could possibly be one of the, like, most biggest organisms known on Earth. And also, in a way, they're also, like, conscious, you know. So it's a kind of like mushroom consciousness, like living underneath the ground. Yeah, and they're amazing. And mycelium, they're also amazing because they're known for their medicinal properties. Mushrooms in general as well. They're known for their medicinal properties, and they're also known to clean up toxic spills of chemicals and all that stuff in nature. So you have something called myco-remediation, MYCO remediation. So it means basically you're using mushrooms, their organic matter, to clean up oil spills or toxic things left in the ground, you know. So not only do they clean up, but they also help plants take up nutrients. So they're also good for fertilizing, like helping the ground, helping the plants. If you have, you know, a garden or something, you can actually buy or you know, grow your own mushroom inoculant. and you seed the ground with it, and then before you grow anything, and so if afterwards when you plant stuff, it actually helps the plants grow much faster. Yeah, so mushrooms are amazing, basically. and so I saw these, this part of the church, and I was like, oh, it looks like a mushroom cap. And so I put it on top of the mushroom, and all these spores here, it's like, all the mushroom spores coming out. So the mushroom is actually called a fruiting body. That's the actual visible part of the mushroom organism. So there's mycelium underground, and then there's the fruiting body of the mushroom. So the spores are coming out, and then they kind of look, I made it so it also looks like stars, like kind of nebula, like a star nursery of some sort. So what I'm trying to say here is that, architecture also, it springs from man's appreciation of nature, especially, I guess, certain, elements in our architectural historical past. We've taken elements from nature, put it in our architecture as a kind of reminder of where we come from and what we could be, because these are also religious structures, and I've read some beautiful quotes that say, oh, we're made of stardust, like from the beginning of time, all the things that happen in the cosmos, coming in and creating life, so actually we have very cosmic roots. So I'm trying to bring all that into this drawing. So that's what I was trying to do with it in this drawing. So that's it.